What would you do if someone walked into your backyard, dug a big hole and put a fence around it with a sign saying no trespassing? You'd no doubt shout and scream and call the police. But what if, when the police came, they threatened to arrest you, not those who wrecked your property and locked you out? In many parts of rural Australia, this is the outrageous scenario now playing out between farmers and big gas companies, whose relentless, often ruthless quest for new sources of gas seem to have no limits. Tonight, when you hear the secret recordings that reveal the high-pressure tactics the companies use to drive farmers from their land, you'll begin to understand why hard-working cattlemen like Kane Booth are forced to take extreme action. For the Booth family, this property was their life and livelihood. Young Darcy and Mitchell were raised here. Their parents, Kane and Sharon, dreamt of growing old on the farm. But 6 years ago, everything changed.
Yeah, the old place, she's looking a bit worse for wear.
The family had to abandon their home. This visit is Sharon's first since leaving.
You can feel the separation. You can feel that it's gone. It's like a piece of you is actually missing. You know, there's a main thoroughfare running through your property and then, oh, there's a gas well. Oh, there's another gas well. And it's all fenced out and you go to drive to the house, the track's changed. It's not even the same track. It's like, well, which way do I go now? And it's my own property.
I get sick when I drive through that gateway. My guts twist into a knot, you know? I get crook thinking about it.
Brentley, just outside Chinchilla in Queensland, was the jewel in the crown of Kane's business, where his 10,000 head of cattle would come to fatten up. But Kane says when Queensland Gas Company, QGC, installed 3 coal seam gas wells on his property, the water supply and cattle were affected severely.
They've come in, they've destroyed everything here. It's a gas field, it's not a farm no more, it's a gas field.
Brentley was no longer a productive farm. What have you done now to protect your property?
I've chained all the gates up and locked QGC out.
What's happened to the wells?
The wells are shut off, so they're not pumping gas, and they're not allowed on until they sort this issue out.
He may be guarding his property, but in the eyes of the law, Kane is the criminal. You see, Queensland Gas Company has every legal right to access his farm whenever they want.
I had no idea this is what they do to people and do to the country to extract gas. They've destroyed my income. I can't operate. I've had to fight them, but it controls my whole life.
But locking the farm gate is no deterrent to Queensland Gas Company. They simply came along and cut out this entire section of fence and made a whole new gate. Then they put their lock on it. So Kane struck back and put his own chain and lock right there. But over here, it gets really ridiculous. This gate's just 50 metres away from the other one, and have a look at this. 5 different padlocks and chains. This is the sign of the standoff between Kane and the gas company, which for now at least is staying off the property. If it wasn't all so serious, it'd be laughable.
And this is the pathetic attempt at a fence.
They just cut the fence and come on and started up their wells. That's what they do, these people. They're just bullies. They just come in and do what they want.
Signed all the way along, saying it's an exclusion zone.
And legally, they've got the law on their side. They can come onto your property at will.
Government support them. They've got the backing of the government to be able to do it. So, you know, you're fighting them and you're fighting the government, you know? This is the thing. I mean, what chance have we got?
Not much, it seems, when you get an insight into the high-pressure tactics of QGC.
You know, QGC saying, get a meeting with Mr Booth and let's get some numbers out of him.
You're listening to a conversation between Kane and a senior QGC land access officer in the region. It's his job to deal directly with the farmers, to buy properties or negotiate access.
And we take our time with landholders and we build a relationship and we get a deal that suits them.
But in a classic good cop, bad cop routine, he reveals the corporate pressure from higher up in QGC management.
And on the other side, it's just fucking get the deal now, we need that now. Stop talking to the fucking landholder, force him into a corner. And we're sort of in between two worlds and trying to get a deal that makes everyone happy. The debt is constantly pressuring us.
Get the deal done. Stop talking to the landowners. Force them into a corner.
And that's what they do. That is exactly what they do. They just push you into the corner. And there it is. Is that not bullying? Yep. No? Is that not standing over you? To me, that's proper bullying you.
And if you're pushed into a corner, what happens?
Well, I'm pushed in the corner. I ain't going back any further. So I'm fighting. They want to fight, they got one.
Kane Booth knows how to fight. He's done it all his life. He ran away from home at 14, was good with his fists and his hands. And this bush-smart kid ended up a successful cattleman, building a multi-million-dollar business. But his troubles began in 2010. Against his better judgment, Kane allowed Queensland Gas Company to build a 3-kilometre, 40-metre wide pipeline along one boundary. It became a trap for his cattle.
We had the pipeline fill up with water, and they'd go into that pipeline, they couldn't get out of it. You know, they'd just walk across it, and they'd go straight down, you know. So we've lost quite a number of cattle, bogged, and died in that pipeline.
And once QGC were on, they became unstoppable. They next wanted to put 3 coal seam gas test wells, known as appraisal wells, onto Kane's land.
The only test wells came. It was always only test wells.
So test wells just to see what gas was in the ground?
Yes.
And that's all that they ever mentioned?
Yes. Yeah, they just wanted to have a look and see what was down there.
But not trusting the gas company and still dealing with the effects of that gas pipeline, Kane had enough. He wanted out.
And I said, listen, I'd rather just relocate, get out of your hair. We won't work together, you know. We were happy to move on outside the gas so I could continue on with my enterprise, you know.
So QGC began negotiating to buy Brentley. It dragged on for 2 years. Then suddenly, without explanation, they pulled out. The sale was off. Within hours of that decision, and knowing they had the law on their side, QGC sent 2 land access officers to Kane's front gate. In their hands, a contract, known as a CCA, to put gas wells on Kane's property. So they are on your property within hours of rejecting any offer to purchase the property. In their hand, they have this conduct and compensation agreement, the CCA. And they're basically saying, sign it, or you'll end up in court.
It's pretty disappointing because I can't read and write real good. But these people turned up within that time period, jammed that in my face, and never read that thing to me or tried to make me understand it. It was all about bullying me, you know, threatening me with the court thing, bluffing me into it.
Flick through 13 pages of conditions and legal wording in the conduct and compensation agreement for the wells, and there it is, a killer clause. On a fence post with QGC agents either side, Kane signed and agreed to 3 methane production wells. But in all of the conversations and all of the correspondence leading up to that in the years previous, it had only ever been described as testing and appraisal wells.
Only ever described as testing and appraisal wells. They lied. They totally lied.
But QGC had what it needed, and eventually Kane's property was a patchwork of gas production. Joining the major pipeline already running along the boundary, QGC drilled 3 wells, dug gathering lines carrying gas and water, and built a network of nearly 2 kilometres of new dirt roads. Kane and his family looked on in despair.
I've watched my husband age 20 years. You know, he was always a very energetic man, very energetic. He's still energetic, but he is so tunnel focused on trying to right this wrong. And it's been hell on earth.
Only recently, during his research for a court battle against QGC, Kane has discovered the gas company broke its own environmental guidelines by coming onto his property.
They say that they will not conduct gas field operations where it causes disturbance to intensive animal rearing operations.
But isn't that exactly what happened here?
They knew what they were doing, and that's what's happened here.
As we get close to the pipeline, natural surface has been raised about 500 here.
To make matters worse, that patchwork of access roads and buried pipes have created raised barriers that prevent the flow of overland water to this low-lying land. And slowly, the once rich paddocks on this feedlot have stopped growing.
It's been totally
What's this done to your family?
It's been very hard on us as a family. I'm always away. I can't talk now. Yeah, no, it's tough. It's very tough. My wife, you know, she hasn't got a husband these days. He's always on the road, dealing with these issues. It's put a lot of pressure on her.
Well, it got to a stage there with me where I thought, you know, that it would be better if he could move forward without, I suppose you could say, having me in the picture. And not quit, but if I went down that path, that maybe, I don't know what I'm trying to say, maybe if there was a desperate situation like that, that it would maybe bring things to a head.
You talk about a desperate situation. If you don't mind, what do you mean by that?
Well, I considered taking myself out of the picture, shall we say, in a permanent way.
Taking your own life?
Pretty much.
Really?
But not as a heroic thing, just I can't explain myself.
You know, when you see your family broken like that, you see your wife in that predicament, it probably made me want to fight harder when I thought about it enough. You know? These people, they're not getting away with this. So I'm not giving up. They're just going to make me bog right in.
Coming up, the family's driven to breaking point.
He kept on saying they just wouldn't leave me alone. He knew that they got to him.
A community divided.
Wonder what's at the other end that they don't want us to see.
Is there any reason you're photographing us?
And we discover what's really bubbling beneath the surface.
They're just over there, so little bubbles.
That's next on 60 Minutes.